Hello, and thank you for coming to hear me today. My presentation is about social mix, or it's called a social mix, and it's about prevention of gentrification and promotion of social mixing in high pressure development areas. And when thinking about different actors, I have narrowed it down to two, so the state and regional management and the architects. Of course, there are multiple actors in this, all very important, but these are the two I've narrowed. And the state and regional management their motivation is to minimize social issues, maintain and develop areas, hopefully also to encourage residential activism. And whereas for architects, it's really about experience sensitive design for the local and spatial benefits. And people who have done that very well are, for example, Peter Barber and Michael Riches, which will be discussed later on. And then thinking about solutions, here are some like main qualities that come into mind for management. It's these incentives of socially sustainable projects, different kinds of funds, and for architects, it's really about spatial solutions. They're really forming the reality in a sense, and it should have nurturing and sustainable qualities. Equality is, of course, very important in both. And here there is a table where you can see some of different ways. This is formed by practices already existing in different cities, different countries, and they are in three different subcategories. So there's rent-related options, resident and community-related options, and then also developer-related options. And one example of these policy solutions is in Kensington Market, even though it is more of a residential case, because there was this community land trust that really worked to preserve these Kensington Market qualities that made it a high pressure area in the first place. We won't go too detailed on this since the time is limited. There are other examples from Helsinki, from Vienna, about state and city-led policies that really work and also create a social mix in the sense, in a very sustainable sense, where there is no stigmas or anything like that. And when in general thinking about these policy solutions, social mixing is key factors, because it really kind of lowers that or elevates that lowest point that you can have. And it's also very much related to equity, then the areas are not segregating as much. And when thinking about the architect solutions, there are many of those as well, and these are also in three sections. There's design processes, features and forms, and then also community related applications. And here examples are, for example, Redbridge Night Shelter in Greater London by Peter Barber, and then from Michael Riches there is this project, which actually was the first ever social project that won the REBA Sterling Prize in 2019. And in these qualities or these solutions, applications, really the fact that the architects is forming, they're physically shaping the world, and this way they are allowing things. whereas policy makers are kind of allowing other actors to work, um, the architects are allowing things for the regular people, people living their lives. Um, and that scheme of possibilities that they create is kind of the way they can also affect directly to emotions, everyday choices of people. So it's a really strong driving force. And here I have a case example, which is the Ethelburger Strip in London, a very central location. But as it is now, it is kind of in an optimal state, and that's because the history of the area has made it so that there are two different kinds of residential buildings. There was this social housing project in the last century, with presumably lower income residents, and then there are these higher income residents living in a bit older buildings, which are presumably privately owned, and also the land is not community owned there. And when thinking about different kinds of things that are action or structure, so the things you saw in the tables should have, regarding policy, regarding architecture, these are some where I came. So things like human scales, the ability to affect thoughts and feelings in a positive way, providing the everyday environment, possibility for actions, all of these kinds of things. And when I really narrowed this down into 5 different qualitative principles, these are what I came in mind with: quality, equity, sociability, prevention, and maintenance. And from these, there's a pretty self-explanatory, except maybe the maintenance, where I refer more into maintenance and structures in general, so not only physical, but especially in the case of Ethelbrook, the maintenance of existing social structures. And here I marked 3 elements from each table. So the green are policy, and the blue are from the architect's view. And you can see here that there are different emphasis into different qualities. You can see, for example, for architects, the quality as a quality is very very much highlighted, as also the prevention in all of these. And then there are some policies or some actions that don't really have an influence to all of the factors. But very interesting example from here is the community facility spaces, which is very important in Ethelburger strips. So when I visited the area, there is this Power of Boxing organization, which works in the Carnes Community Center in the area, and it really is a place for social mixing, since sports in general are universal and shared with different social status people. And then it's also located in a highly more let's say prestigious area, so people might come there for convenience from nearby, or since it has some also free activities, some people might come there just for that. And then here you can see the charts again, but as in the case of tables, these figures are also better explained in my paper with more details. But thank you very much for listening me today, and that is all.